Hello and welcome to Buncey Cast number 5, and it has been another surprising week in the Premier League, but as always I will be mainly focusing on Fulham Football Club, and we were away to Tottenham Hotspur, and if you haven't already seen, I did actually do a match day experience. It's the first one on the channel, and they will be coming about when I get the opportunity to go up and watch Fulham, because I don't go every week as much as I would love to. But they will be out whenever I do get the opportunity to go, and definitely check it out. It's the first time I've ever done that sort of thing, so I hope you enjoy it. But back to the podcast now, and away to Tottenham Hotspur, and obviously, as you would have heard, we did lose 3-1. Not really unexpected, I thought we're probably going to lose this game, but there's always a sort of a hope going into those games, especially when we play our style of football and it being back at Wembley. But at the end of the day, Tottenham did show us why they are a top 6 side, and I'm going to get straight in to the points. So, first of all, what I would like to discuss is the starting 11, and much to some people's surprise, Fabry did retain that goalkeeper position, and I was sort of expecting that we were going to be seeing Sergio Rico, probably not Marcus Bettinelli as much as a lot of Fulham fans would like to see it, but Slaviša Jokanovic did decide to stick with Fabricio, and in the end I agree with his decision. I think that he'd done the right thing. I think Fabry deserves the chance to prove himself, and I think he had a very good game. More on that later. And the defence was interesting. Again, we had Joe Bryan. Luckily he was back in the team, because there was some thoughts that maybe he was injured after he came off against Crystal Palace. And then we had Le Marchand, and then Chambers and Fosu Mensah coming in at right back, and that was a little bit surprising because I thought we'd maybe give Christie another chance, but I think because it was against a higher league opposition that we were using it as an opportunity to try new things, and that is what we done. And we had a new CDM in today, at the weekend as well, and I think it was a good time to experiment. And Fosu Mensah, I haven't really seen a lot of him, but what I did see is very promising. I haven't seen enough of Christie and Fosu Mensah yet to make a decision to myself on who I would prefer in that right back position, because I think that they're both very talented and they probably both bring different things to the side. But so far, it's good to see some experimental stuff going on, but we can't do that every week because we do need a solid side that we can go into each game with and try and get these results. But in midfield, we lined up with Anguissa in that defensive holding position, and that was his Premier League debut, and more on him a bit later because I have some things to discuss about his performance. And then the two central midfielders, Jean-Michel Seri, back in the team after his amazing performance against Crystal Palace, and obviously Tom Cairney, 90 out of 93 passes completed last week, and he is back in the side to no one's surprise. Very good player, obviously, loved at Fulham. And then up front, we did line up on the left wing Ryan Sessegnon, which is obviously good because we want him at left wing, and I think he had a decent performance. At striker, we had Aleksandar Mitrovic, which was a good decision, obviously. We're obviously going to play him over Vieto for now because we have no reason not to. We spent a big amount of money on him and he's loved at Fulham. And at right wing was the one that confused me a little bit, is we went into the game with Abubakar Kamara, and Abubakar Kamara, I'm not really sure was the right decision. When I seen it, I was a little bit surprised, but he did have an amazing performance at Wembley last time out. But going back into that game with Abu again, I think maybe Schürrle might have been not match fit, but he did come on in the second half and he looked fine. But Abubakar Kamara, I think that was an interesting decision, and he didn't have the best of performances. Him and Sessegnon did switch from side to side during the game, but I do think next week I'd prefer to see Schürrle back in that position. But Abubakar Kamara, it's obviously just some experimental stuff going on at the moment. Well, we're playing a high league opposition, we're not expecting a result, so obviously Savista is going to go into that experimenting, and that's what he's done with Abubakar Kamara. And anyway, on to Le Marchand. Now, last week he did have not the best of performances. in my opinion, after watching him at Celta Vigo as well. And I'm not really too sure on him at the moment, but Tottenham Hotspur, wow, he literally had an amazing performance. I thought he was brilliant, and it seemed to be like the opposite of last week, because against Crystal Palace I thought that Chambers was the standout centre-back, and Le Marchand didn't look very good at all. But this week it seemed to be the opposite, because Le Marchand had a brilliant game and Chambers looked very shaky. Now, I'm sure this is probably because it was at Wembley against high league opposition, nerves are running high, but hopefully we can see more of a defensive line coming into shape, which will be more solid at the back, and I think that both of those defenders will improve over time. And it does put the question in your mind, when Alfie Mawson is back into fitness and ready to come into the starting 11, who will we drop? And I really do think it will be who is better in training in the week, between Le Marchand and Callum Chambers, because after that performance at Tottenham, I'm not sure really who we would go with, because I think they're both very, very good. Definitely both very good. And Callum Chambers, obviously from Arsenal, he's been trained up well. Le Marchand from abroad, from France, from Nice, came with Jean-Michel Seri, and I think I'd like to see more of both of them to come up to that decision. I'm not really sure how Tim Ream is going to fit into this season, to be honest, because we have all of these great centre-backs, but I do rate Tim Ream very highly. We all do at Fulham, I think, and I don't know, maybe in the cup games we can experiment with our back line, see what's what, and then hopefully we can go from there. But moving on to Joe Bryan against Tottenham Hotspur, I think that he had a decent game, obviously at Wembley Stadium. In the Premier League, it's bound to have some sort of nerve effect, but I think that Joe Bryan got past that, and he did have a decent game. But with Joe Bryan, I often think that what he's lacking is to run on to the balls and go deeper when we're on the attack. And obviously, coming from Bristol City's play style into Fulham's, it's going to take time for him to adapt to our play style. But I would like to see more of Joe Bryan getting down the line and helping out on the attacks, because he does have the capability to put in a lethal cross, as we had seen when he was at Bristol City. But with Joe Bryan, I definitely think that we need to stick with him at left back. I think he's definitely Premier League quality, and moving forward I'm excited to see where he can take us. Overall, from that game against Tottenham, what we can take from it is obviously getting off the mark and also putting in a great fight against higher league opposition. And when we did equalise, for a while it did look as if maybe Fulham could get back into that game and go ahead. And I seen Tom Kenyon in an interview after the game said that he thought the same. And you know, it would have been amazing, but at the end of the day they just shown their quality, Tottenham did. And when Kieran Trippier stepped up for that free kick, I just knew it was going to go in. It's just typical Kieran Trippier, you know, he did it in the World Cup, and that's why I whipped my phone out during that video, because I thought, you know, there's a high chance this is actually going to go in. As much as I believe in Fabre's saving, as previously in that game he did actually make a very good stop from a free kick, which is also in that video, but I just had a feeling about that one. But overall, I mean, we did put in a good fight. I'm happy. There's positives we can take, and again, I really don't think that we're going to struggle this season to get points. I think we have to believe in the play style that we have and believe in our players, and obviously we are coming from a very big winning mentality into the Premier League, so obviously it is going to be hard at first, accepting that we're going to have more defeats, say, than wins, but I think we're going to be absolutely fine in the Premier League, and there's teams that are definitely going to be worse than us. I still believe we could have a mid-table finish for sure. It's early days. It is really early days, and seeing other fans of other teams attacking Fulham because they have 0 points on the table, it's really just embarrassing from their fans, really. Not targeting any specific club, but it is quite embarrassing to see some fans targeting Fulham, because, you know, it's really early doors and there's a lot left in our locker yet, And I think we're going to prove that as soon as we start playing the teams that are worse than us and we start, getting all these points on the table. I think a lot of those fans are going to shut up, really. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to see progressively in the season. But overall, I'm happy with Saturday. And moving on from Fulham, I am going to look at the other results from the weekend. So obviously, Cardiff and Newcastle drawn 0-0. Bournemouth were able to defeat West Ham United 2-1. Leicester City, with a red card, defeated Wolverhampton Wanderers 2-0. Everton beat Southampton 2-1. Chelsea beat Arsenal 3-2. Manchester City thrashed Huddersfield 6-1. And Watford beat Burnley 3-1. And Brighton absolutely caused upset against Manchester United and beat them 3-2. I think that's probably the best result from the weekend. And Crystal Palace are actually playing today as I'm recording this, so I can't discuss that result. But they have Liverpool today at 8 p.m. So it'd be interesting to see how Crystal Palace do in their second game of the season after beating Fulham last week. But for now, that will be it for the podcast. I hope you have enjoyed, and be sure to check out the video I uploaded where I went to Tottenham away and posted my matchday experience. I hope you can and go and enjoy it. And also check out all of my previous podcasts. And next week's podcast will be out, same again, around Monday. But for now, that is it. Thank you for coming back, and goodbye for now.